And Blake likes throwing her head back like, you guys are so funny. You're so naughty. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. But poor girls, like, clearly just gonna have to try to hide the fact that this is super humiliating. Why's your husband making out with this other guy? The stunt on its own is crazy, stupid, lame if he had won. But the fact that he lost and they still took this opportunity to be like, but let's make out anyway. Like, what is the sickness of this person? Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Cheer Denise. So many things to talk about today. And you guys, I went down such a rabbit hole on one of these topics that I'm gonna have to make a separate video because I can't discuss all the things that I learned about this one topic today. But I'm going to just throw it out there and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about it in detail and in depth and I can make a whole video about it. But suffice it to say, these are some juicy topics, so let's get into it. First topic we're going to discuss today is the one in which I really got real into the characters of this story. And it's the one that I feel like I need to make a separate video about, but we just need to discuss the main thing that's been in the news and we'll get more into it another time. The story that really caught my attention, and I didn't expect to be so interested in this story, was the news that Hugh Jackman's wife, Deborah Lee, had finally filed for divorce. Now, he had actually filed for divorce before, but they were like estranged and the whole thing hadn't become a done deal. These two got married in 1996. They have been married for 27 years. Now, she's 13 years older than, but by anybody's estimation over all these years, their marriage was tight. They were one of those Hollywood couples where you're like, oh, wow, isn't it so great to see a couple actually stay together? I'm so excited that there's finally somebody around here who understands the value of marriage. Well, I guess you understand the value of marriage until you meet a co-star that's so hot you can't handle it and you abandon your wife. So she had signed an NDA when all this went down. Apparently, and I've heard this reported, but not like over and over. So you guys may have heard something else. But it was reported that he paid her $100 million and had her sign this NDA. So everyone was like, what really happened there? Now, there had been speculation because Hugh Jackman had been on a Broadway musical in 2022, The Music Man, and his co-star was Sutton Foster. And these two had gotten along real good. They're real chummy is what they were. So a lot of people were like, well, you know, Hugh's marriage isn't going so good. And suddenly he's hanging out with Sutton a lot and they seem like they really like each other. But then there was a lot of other people who were like, no, they don't. They just get along. I mean, everything doesn't have to be drama, you know. Some people's marriages just run out, you know. So just like calm down. So for the longest, he got away with this. But somebody on social media posted a short, it was a reel, something like this. I can't remember what platform it was on, but they posted a reel talking about how Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster had been an item and that this was a real relationship that had caused deterioration in both Sutton's marriage and in Hugh's marriage because Sutton also was happily married at the time, which was one of the reasons why these allegations would not stick because people were like, but Sutton's happily married and Hugh's happily married. Y'all drama queens need to, stop. And because we couldn't get Deborah Lee's story on it, we kind of had to just go with the fact that the official story was nothing was going on with Hugh. But then somebody made a reel about these two. And who liked the reel? Deborah Lee. So she might be quiet with the mouth, but she's not quiet with those fingers clicking. And so she let the world realize that something really had happened there. And then recently, and this is why the story's in the news, she came out and said that her thoughts and prayers are with all those people who have been betrayed because betrayal is one of the hardest things to get past. And that because of her belief in a higher power, this was how she had, been able to traverse this horrific territory of betrayal, this valley of the shadow of death, if you will. So then everybody was like, confirmation. We knew that the Sutton thing and Hugh Jackman, it wasn't just the case of, a couple of people really just getting on. We knew that something was happening here. So that's like the official story. But you guys, and I am not the first one to say this, but it's just something I feel like we really need to discuss. Because these rumors have been swirling around for a long time. So the official betrayal, according to everyone right now, is that Hugh Jackman's wife, Deborah Lee, is referencing this affair with Sutton. But you know what I feel like Deborah Lee might be talking about? I feel like she might be talking about the fact that her husband is clearly gay with Ryan Reynolds. You guys, this Ryan Reynolds character, I know that, like, one of the things that everyone is like, huh, it's getting kind of weird, you guys, is the way Hugh Jackman's character and Ryan Reynolds' character in their movies interact with each other. I mean, there's just like, I just don't understand two men who are like straight as a board carrying on like this for so long. But Hugh Jackman, though he like plays with this character, you know, on and off screen with Ryan Reynolds of having like this bromance. It's not just a bromance. It's like very, very sexual energy between the two of them. Some people could say, but that's just the way they do like PR for the movie. You know, it's just like this long extended thing. And to me, I'm just like, yuck. Is there not like a different way y'all can promote your movies? But my problem is with Ryan Reynolds, who is as gay as the day is long. I don't care that he's married to Blake. You guys, when I was going down the rabbit hole of all the times he's just forced himself on men, kissing men, finding opportunities to kiss men, constantly pawing men, constantly joking and having like this whole like, you know, creating this like awkward sexual energy with somebody and constantly putting himself on another man. Like, you guys, if this man had done this to a woman, he would have been booted out of Hollywood years ago. When Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were hanging out together all the day long with Hugh Jackman, they've all been friends for a long time. So there was that sense that Hugh was just being a loyal friend. And then also, since his marriage was deteriorating and all of the rumors were going on about Sutton Foster, there was also the sense of like, oh, Hugh's learning the tricks of the PR trade here. You know, he's learning how failed marriages in Hollywood turn out to be love stories, how you can sort of just completely forget that, say, Blake Lively had interfered with Scarlett Johansson's marriage, stolen her husband, and then went on to be a big star. You know, maybe Hugh Jackman's just kind of figuring out how to traverse these rocky territories now that he's broken up Sutton's marriage and his own with an affair. But now I'm like, okay, maybe he was learning that. Maybe Sutton is just a big cover for the fact that he and Ryan have just this gay love affair. And you guys, Ryan is gay. Like, he's gay. I don't even know why he pretends to be married to Blake. I don't even understand. Like, in this day and age, when you can go and do anything you want to do, like, no one's going to, like, not give you a part in a movie because you're gay. Like, this isn't, like, the 1920s. There's no reason why he should be in the closet. And clearly he doesn't want to be in the closet because every time we turn around, he's leaping on people. Can we, in the bright light of day, discuss the time when he just made out with Garfield? Okay, you guys, I hadn't realized the backstory of this. In fact, I didn't even really, the story really wasn't even on my radar because, like, what did I care? But now that it's like, what is happening with Hugh Jackman and his marriage, and what is happening with Ryan Reynolds, and the fact that these two are so clearly, openly flaunting the relationship, and like, we're all supposed to not notice. Now that we're all talking about that, I just want to go back to that time when he kissed Garfield at an award ceremony. Okay, what's really crazy is that Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Aaron Garfield were sitting at a table together. Garfield says to Ryan, hey, you know what'd be really funny is if in this category you win the award instead of Ryan Gosling, and then instead of kissing Blake, you kiss me. Ryan's like, down for it, man. I'd love to do that. And it's like, first of all, putting like all like the gay stuff aside, what a thing to do to your wife. Like, this is a moment where she's supported you, celebrated you, been by your side while you make this movie, and then you turn this moment of celebration into a stunt. Like, why does everything have to be so, like, such a big stunt, like, foolish and carry on? Anyway, so the deal was, if you win, you kiss me. And then they went a step further, that they had decided that they would act it out where Ryan is announced as the winner, and he's going to turn to Blake and kiss Blake, and then veer over and kiss Andrew instead. And it's going to be, like, so funny, because, like, who saw that coming?
And the plan was that he would kind of move towards his wife, and then kind of last minute move towards me.
But what's crazier still is that Ryan ends up winning. And then when Ryan wins, the two of them are like, hey, you still want to kiss? I still want to kiss you. And then they like have a makeout session in the background of this awards ceremony. And Blake likes throwing her head back like, you guys are so funny. You're so naughty. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. But poor girls, like, clearly just going to have to try to hide the fact that this is super humiliating. Why's your husband making out with this other guy? Like, the stunt on its own is crazy, stupid, lame if he had won. But the fact that he lost and they still took this opportunity to be like, but let's make out anyway. Like, what is the sickness of this person? I'm going to make another video that like catalogs all the things, all the times we've seen Ryan pushing himself. He was on that show and he was constantly like making up scenes with his co-star that were not scripted, where he was like coming on to the guy, like making out with the guy, putting his face on the guy's face, like breathing on him, like all up in his space. And none of that was scripted. And he does this constantly. And then just all of the stuff that we see, like with him and Hugh Jackman, just constantly like in each other's space, resting each other's heads, grabbing each other's legs. It's like, two straight guys don't act like that. The joke doesn't go on that long. Even if two straight guys were willing for a hot second to play that role, like just for like, I don't know, some giggles, I can tell you that this would not go on and on and on and on and on and on. Like, this is just weird. So the official story that Hugh Jackman's relationship has ended with his wife because of his betrayal of her with Sutton Foster. Okay, I guess. I mean, maybe his wife had known all along that he was bisexual because she was with him for years when he was still hanging out with Ryan. And Ryan and him have been friends since, like, I don't know, like 2008. This friendship has been going on and on. So maybe the true betrayal really was that he had chosen another woman. Like, maybe Barbara Lee was well aware that he seemed to have really flirtatious, questionable relationships with men, specifically with Ryan Reynolds. And so the true betrayal was like, okay, but I was supposed to be your woman. Like, you can go be with that guy, but I'm supposed to be the woman that you make exception for in your bisexual life. And maybe she just was like shocked that this had happened. So I don't know. I feel really bad for her because what a person to be married to. Because also, if he thinks that Ryan Reynolds is a great friend and then all that stupid banter and like the dumb little skits and all of the back and forth on social media and all of this, like, if you had to be married to somebody who had a friend like Ryan and this is the way they were, like, that person's tiresome. You know, so she has earned her crowns in heaven just being married to Hugh Jackman all these many years. Anyway, we got to move on. There's another story that has been in the news, I'd say for about a week now, and I didn't cover it because I was like, this is such a non-story. Like, why are we even talking about this? Like, is the news cycle so slow? Because it isn't. So I didn't understand why this story just kept getting like pushed and pushed. But now I think we need to keep our eye on the story, and this is why. Okay, so Britney Spears was in the news because she was caught smoking on a flight, and then she was reprimanded. Police met her at the gate, and it was this whole thing. And at the time when I heard the story, I was like, are we really talking about the fact that Britney Spears lit up a cigarette on a plane? I mean, like, not ideal by any means, but tell her to put it out and then move on. I mean, how is this even in the news? And I still, to an extent, feel that way. But when Britney decided to come out and talk about it and release a statement on Instagram, then I was like, interesting, Britney. These are some interesting things you're telling us / not telling us. So she obviously has had some issues ever since her conservatorship. The fact that she was in a conservatorship in the beginning was problematic, although she did seem like she wasn't doing well. So there was an argument for why that needed to be. And then there was all this like free Britney, free Britney, free Britney. And then she ends up getting out of the conservatorship, but has not appeared to be doing well on her own either. So anytime we see anything about Britney, it's always just like, oh, what's going on with her? When she posted about this incident on the plane, she said that she had gotten on the plane and she did, this was the first time she's ever had vodka. I find that really hard to believe. And that vodka made her feel like so smart. She's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm like the most brilliant person ever. I can't even believe how smart I am with this vodka. This vodka is like the serum of all life and understanding and wisdom. And then she says that she was like, I really want a cigarette. She claims that a friend put the cigarette in her mouth and lit it. And she's like, oh, this is a smoking plane. You can smoke on this private plane. Cool. That's awesome. And then a flight attendant who she says had it out for her since she first got on the plane came over and huffed at her and was like, get that cigarette out of your mouth, and embarrassed her. She says that this flight attendant was really weird anyway because she wouldn't let Britney stand up when Britney wanted to stand up, and it invaded her space when she put the seatbelt on her. So this wench was out to get her from day one. And then this same horrific flight attendant had called police to meet her at the gate. And she thought it was just that they were huge fans of hers because, like, gosh, like, what are the police doing here? They must have heard I was landing and wanted to come by and say, hey. And that's not why the police were there. And they were there to, like, reprimand her and, I don't know, give her a citation for smoking. I didn't even know there was a thing. Okay. You don't call the police because somebody lit up a cigarette. I mean, I wouldn't think that that would be a thing. You would take the cigarette, put it out, but I feel like there's part of the story we're not getting. Now, if this is a person who says they'd never had vodka before, and they were like guzzling the vodka, people saw her drinking the vodka, and she has this strange story in which it made her feel so smart, all this vodka, I'm like, there has got to be some other behavioral issues that were happening on this plane. Because a flight attendant on a private plane could simply tell you, put it out. It didn't blow up the plane. I don't even know that there would have been any incident in which a plane could have blown up because of a cigarette. Because didn't they used to let you smoke on planes like back in the day? I mean, I think just put the cigarette out and don't call the police. So I just don't understand what's happening with this story. But, you know, Britney has also been in the news, not because of smoking on a plane, but because with all this stuff that's been going on with Diddy. Do you remember the time at the VMAs when Britney came out and she'd been going through a rough patch and she was supposed to perform a song and it was like this huge moment in pop culture? Britney came out and she seemed unstable. Her dancing wasn't what people were used to. Her choreography seemed really kind of muted and dull. She didn't seem well. She definitely didn't have the same charisma and energy that she had in the past. When she writes about it in her memoir, she says right before she was having panic attacks, she just had a baby. She didn't feel good in the outfit they gave her to wear. She was super embarrassed and super self-conscious. And the story that everyone was talking about was like, wow, what happened to Britney's body? And she just had a kid, you know? So it was like those early 2000, let's mock people for their bodies if they're not like rail thin. And so that the story became that like Britney looked weird when she was dancing. She didn't look good in that outfit. She looked fine, by the way. And everyone, and because it wasn't on anybody's radar at the time, missed the fact that the 2 nights previous to this show, she had been partying with Diddy. And now, because of the Diddy trial, we're getting all these pictures of Britney with Cassie, with Diddy, partying the night before that awards ceremony. And could it be that she looked so crazy because she had been partying at a freak-off with Diddy the night before? You know, so, and all of that happened right before her conservatorship. I feel like she's just like yet one more star that has had connection and partied with Diddy and had been partying with Diddy like for years. This is just one more star who's just completely been deconstructed because of her association. And maybe not because, but her association with him certainly didn't help. And when we see her falling off mentally, it's when we're seeing her partying with him. So I don't know. That's, to me, that was the more interesting story this week about Britney. But everyone kept talking about you smoking on the plane. And what do you guys think? There's got to be more to the story, right? Would anybody call the police to meet you at a gate if you lit a cigarette on a plane? I don't know. Maybe those are the laws. Maybe laws have changed, and if you transgress social norms to such an extent that you would light a cigarette on a plane, which isn't necessarily a safe thing to do, but say like you do that, do you get met by the police? Is that like standard procedure? You light a cigarette, we're getting the police. I think it would happen so few times now that I would be shocked if there's even another occurrence people could cite of, well, we had to call the police because this person lit a cigarette, but it's possible, you know, it's possible. So if you know, let me know. But I thought it was a weird story and I just feel like more happened on that plane than we're getting the gist of. Another story that keeps getting play lately, and I just want to follow up on it, is Kelly Clarkson's TV show is having major issues. And there's talk that Hoda's going to come over and take over because, of course, she's had like, I don't know, like 17, 19 years over there on NBC. And so now they are like, hey, maybe come do this talk show. All right. Well, Kelly Clarkson hasn't seemed like she was into the show for a minute. And she's been doing more and more singing on her show. And the clips that are coming off the show are no longer her talking to celebrities. Not that there aren't those, but the ones that are going viral are of her singing. And her voice just has gotten better and better and better with age. I mean, she was always a powerful singer, but I mean, the stuff that's coming off her show right now is just incredible. I mean, sometimes I'll just like sit there and like watch clips of Kelly Clarkson singing because I mean, the notes she's hitting, I mean, the girl is gifted. So with the resurgence of Kelly Clarkson's singing and everybody being reinvested in her voice in a new way, and I would even say she's like gotten new and younger fans who maybe weren't as familiar with her as, say, I was back in the day, because, you know, she was making all kinds of hits when I was in high school. Now she's this summer going to be having a Vegas residency, and she's got a new album that she's putting out. And so I think she wants to move more towards her music career. And this show is really dragging her down. The show helped her when she wasn't focusing on her music career, but now that the music career is happening again, there's this sense that she's just not into the show anymore. Now, at the end of March, she was inexplicably absent for 10 days, just didn't show up. And no one knew why. But at the time, everyone was like, we don't know where she is. We don't know why she's not showing up for work. There was a guest who was coming onto her show to promote their book, and they ended up having to pull this person in and be like, hey, could you like do the show today? Because we actually don't have a host. Kelly didn't show up for work. And so the person gets on and they're like, hey, so Kelly's not going to be here today. And I just learned 5 minutes ago that they need somebody to host the show. So here I am. We'll see how this goes. I mean, that just seems so wildly unprofessional to me, that you would just like not be around for 10 days. No one was any the wiser. I mean, it was just very vague as to what was happening. Well, you know, something's going on. It's not with her necessarily. Don't worry, she's okay. But there's like, you know, there's something in her personal life. That doesn't specifically pertain to her, but, you know, it's calling her attention away from the show. Come to find out, her ex-husband, who she had been in unfortunate divorce proceedings with, and had even gone so far as to change lyrics to a specific song to call him out. She and he had not had good times splitting up, but he had become sick. So sick, in fact, that she felt that she needed to take their children to see him. And so she had traveled to go and take her kids to see him. Okay. That's pretty bad. And I'm not sure how he's doing now, but I guess at the time she felt like it was time to go and take the kids to see him because he was, you know, not doing well. So, I mean, it's almost like, was he on his deathbed? That seems like a deathbed move. But now she's back. I'm assuming her ex-husband is on the mend. But she's talking about, yeah, I just feel sad and lonely. This just like isn't my thing anymore. I mean, she's even made comments before of like, I can't even believe that I haven't been fired yet. I mean, it feels like she's trying to get fired. It feels like she would love to be fired from this job. And even staff members and stuff are saying they feel that their jobs are in jeopardy because of her behavior. And the vibe on the set is not good because she's not really into it anymore. She clearly is not putting her heart and soul into it. And so there has been talk that Hoda from the Today Show would come and fill in and like take over the show. She has since said that's not so. Hoda's like, no, I'm not coming back to TV. But if I ever did, it would be to the Today Show, not to this, you know, nowhere else, you know. And so she claims that she's not. We'll see. I mean, they always say things and then other stories break. And then it's like, oh, well, they talked me into it. Huh? And you knew all along that they were planning on it. So she says she's not. But Kelly obviously can't go on. She's not into this anymore. I mean, anybody who decides that they're just going to not show for work for 10 days on a TV show that's airing across the nation is somebody who just does not value that job. And I know that it's because her husband was sick, but like, why wouldn't you just come out and say that so that like public sympathy could be on your side? If you're going to not show up for work for 10 days on a very public show, people are going to notice something happened. So this idea that, well, I wanted to respect his privacy. Well, if you did, you wouldn't have left your show for 10 days and made people wonder where you were and what was happening. Like that causes way more conversation than if you just said, my ex-husband's really sick and we're really concerned, so I'm going to have to take a leave of absence. And then people would have been more than supportive of you. But for you to just not show up for work and then they've got to like pull in this person who didn't even know that they were supposed to be hosting a TV show that day. They're just trying to promote their little product or book or whatever, and then they've got to host your show, literally ghosted the show, and then tried to say it was your ex-husband's sickness. I mean, I just honestly, you guys, maybe I'm not a very compassionate person, but to me, that's not the way you behave when there's a real crisis at hand. To me, acting like that is the way somebody acts who wants to be fired from a job and then just found a real convenient reason why they had to act the way they did. I don't know. I just don't think adults act like that. I don't think responsible adults act that way. That's just my take on the whole thing. Okay, talking about the lapse of responsible adults and what the hell. You guys, some of you are going to be really happy with the story because I hear constantly, if I ever talk about anybody in the political sphere, well, why don't you ever talk about Donald Trump? Why are you always carrying water for Donald Trump? Are you some big fat conservative? it's so annoying because it's like, because he doesn't run my world. I don't even care what he does. Like, I'm not anti-Trump in any way. I'm just so sick and tired of hearing about him, right? I don't care. I don't care what he does. I don't care what his proclivities are. I mean, like, who cares? Especially when it comes to like personal stories. Like, I literally don't care. I care as far as like policy matters go, but we don't talk about that on this show. But as far as personal life goes, like, there's just so much conversation about him all the day long that I don't bring him up because I just don't care. Anyway, I do care about this because this is where our pop culture and politics are going to cross. Recently, he just pardoned Todd and Julie Chrisley because they have been in prison for tax evasion and fraud, I believe. And they were real supportive of him. And so he has just given them a pardon. And so they're out of prison and they don't have to pay anything in penalties for what they've done. That's so unacceptable. Those two people, their whole show, their whole family drove me crazy. And I didn't even watch that show. But I'd see clips here and there and I'd see different things that they were up to. And I just remember being like, why is this gay man pretending to be married with kids? Like, I didn't even get what the whole show was about. Anyway, those two have been in a prison in Kentucky or whatever. And like, you know, their kids were posting on social media, we're going to go get mom and dad. We're so happy. Grayson's going to go get mom. I'm going to go get dad. And I feel like this is setting a real bad precedent where if you give money to, and setting a precedent, it's always been this way, but it's like, let's not propagate this foolishness. But this idea that if I give money to a president and if I publicly support him, then when I decide to have some huge tax fraud, tax evasion, when I decide to be fraudulent, I can be guaranteed that I really won't have to pay for my crimes with prison time or with literally paying my tax bill. You guys, every time I pay my taxes, I'm just frothing angry over how much I'm having to pay. I mean, I am just rigid with indignation over how much money I am forking over to the American government and how little say I have over what happened to that money. I'm like, didn't we fight a war about this? I mean, I cannot tell you. I mean, I almost fell out this tax season. But I'm not over here being fraudulent. I'm not trying to evade my responsibilities as they've been meted out to me. I pay my taxes. But if I decided not to, no one's getting me out of prison. No one's getting you out of prison. And I just feel like those two, if there was everybody, those two should have been in prison just because their show was so lame. They were so lame.
Why are you so upset?
Well, A, I can't find my cookbook. You won't side with me. You are insisting on being the fun parent/grandparent while I'm the mean bad one. And I ran into traffic on the way home. It took me forever to get home.
And that's my fault?
Yeah, I'm sure you had something to do with it.
I can't even fathom how this move is supposed to go over well with the American people. Now, there's going to be a side that says, hey, but you know what? When Biden left office, he did a lot of pardons, and no one liked how that went down. A lot of questionable pardons. So if Trump wants to pardon Todd and Julie, then whatever. You guys, I'm so tired of that in politics. Oh, the other guy did something I didn't like, so that means I get a pass on doing something you don't like. No, how about we just conduct ourselves with decency and carry out the law accordingly? You know, I have major issues with some of the people that Biden pardoned at the end of his term. Real questionable things went down with the pardons he was meting out. I mean, somebody was in charge of that auto pen and they were just letting everyone go. But at the same time, I can have problems with that and not sanction the fact that Trump's over here pardoning Julie and Todd. They belong in prison. They're there for a reason. And just because they wanted to give some support bears no reason. Okay, fine. They can get all the support they want from you. That doesn't mean that you get them out of prison. They are where they belong. Those fraudsters are exactly where they belong. I don't know. That just sickened me. I was like, are you for real right now? Is there not something better we can be doing than letting them out? Like, their yapping from their prison cell in Kentucky should have no bearing on what you're doing. You've got real things to deal with. Okay? We have a country in crisis. And you do not need to care about what's happening to them. They made their beds. Now let them lie in that prison bed. Two more little stories. They'll be quick. You guys would not believe that we've got Lindsay Lohan out here saying that she actually didn't do anything to her face. Like, people are saying she got a facelift. This glow up that she had is just because she drinks a lot of water. I mean, hasn't anybody ever heard of Botox? Y'all are getting Botox, right? Well, so did she. So everyone needs to like quit being on her about like all the stuff she did, because she didn't do anything. She doesn't even have time to get a facelift. When she asks you, would she get a facelift? I don't know, when you disappeared for years and were living in the Middle East with a weird accent, maybe back then when no one was paying any attention to you, that's when you decided to get your glow up. Because you disappeared for ages and came back looking different. So for you to act like now, like I've just been this working actress all along, when I have ever had any work done, I don't know, when you disappeared for years, that could have been the time when you came back with a different face. What are you talking about? You think we're stupid? Somebody else who thought we were stupid this week was Heidi Montag, who showed up with this wig. Now, I want to ask you guys right now, why was Nicole Kidman getting all of our virulence and animosity over that wig, which was whack, but we're going to give Heidi a pass? You guys, people have been doing wigs for a minute now. People have been wearing wigs for decades, but they've gotten real good lately. And yet, why does this wig look like something you got at the Spirit of Halloween store the day after Halloween when they sold all of their merchandise? This is like one of the worst things I've ever seen. Here we have Heidi. She's prancing around at the American Music Awards. She's super excited, stoked to be there, you guys. She's been making the rounds of some music festivals, always with Spencer in tow. Spencer's over there, getting in there, like hopping in front of the other photographers, making sure to click pictures of his wife because, you know, he's not sure if anybody else is going to get a minute of this moment. I always get people who comment and are like, he's just a really supportive husband. Is that really how you see it? Or do you see that this is the only moment he knows anyone's going to pay attention to him if he plays the good husband? Because the way he goes on and on and on and on about her as though he doesn't have anything else to do with his time, it's just like he's trying to gain respect by you thinking he's this great husband, but it just, to me, it just reads like desperate to get attention. And there he is, you know, like I said, jumping in front of the other photographers to get his picture of Heidi. And there's Heidi posing in her super bad wig, you guys. Like, that wig is so bad. This is one step away from having just put a mop on her head. What is happening with how bad this is? The color is bad. The fit is bad. The cut of the wig is bad. What is happening with the part? Is it supposed to look bad? Is that like the thing? I mean, you know, like sometimes people will just like, you know, look like trash, but it's supposed to be a look. Is this like a look? Were you supposed to try to look cheap and trashy? Was that kind of the vibe? I don't know. But if that was the vibe, girl, nailed it. All right. Well, that's all we have to talk about today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really loved it. You guys tell me which story you thought was the most compelling. Alrighty, see you guys later. Bye.